The first few days of the NBA's restart have been amazing. We've had multiple close battles between top-tier teams, multiple games going into overtime, dominant performances by the NBA's top superstars. Overall, it's been the best return we fans could have asked for. One of the many teams that played in the opening couple games was the Portland Trailblazers, as they pulled through with a close win over Memphis, and it allows them to edge closer to the 8th seed. I watched the game, and what I saw definitely excited me, and it makes me believe this team could be a huge underdog in these playoffs. So, in today's video, I'm going to be looking at the Portland Trailblazers season so far, why they were arguably disappointing throughout this season, some key players that will play a big part in their potential playoff success, and how I think they can beat the odds and surprise a lot of people in the NBA's return. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, please be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers and we are less than 100 away from that goal, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Leave a like as well if you enjoy, it really does go a long way. But with that all being said, let's talk about the Portland Trailblazers.
Lucas.
The Portland Trailblazers underachieved a lot this season. After making the Western Conference Finals in 2019, where they got swept by the KD-less Golden State Warriors, the Blazers have slumped to the 9th seed in the Western Conference. As of recording this video, they have a record of 30-37, 2.5 games behind the 8th seed Grizzlies. With the new play-in tournament rules, the Blazers are still a mathematical chance to make the playoffs, even if they fail to overtake the Grizzlies for the 8th seed, and for that reason, a lot of people are excited to see how they do in the restart, as they are probably the favourites to take that final playoff spot in the West. But how did the Blazers get in this situation? What has caused them to be so disappointing this season and has them outside the playoff picture? The biggest reason to me has to be injuries. The Blazers lost both Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins this season, their two key big men, and it left a lot of holes in their team offensively and defensively. Though Hassan Whiteside was a solid replacement for them for the season, it's obviously not the same as having a high impact level player like Nurkic, and his and Collins' absence did attribute to the lack of success heavily for the Blazers. Another reason why I think the Blazers struggled this year was because many of the supporting pieces of the team struggled at times this year and were overall quite inconsistent. For example, CJ McCollum. Though CJ McCollum's stats say otherwise, he has been quite patchy throughout the year until the last couple of months of the season, that is. In December to January, McCollum was only averaging 19 points per game and seemed very passive, leading to the rise of Lillard, where he had a stretch of 5 or so games averaging over 50 points, which was insane. Carmelo Anthony has been decent for the Blazers as well, but he too has also been patchy, particularly regarding his efficiency. In my eyes, these two factors caused the vastly disappointing season for the Blazers and has led them to where they are today. So, if Portland do want to turn this around and want to go on a surprise playoff run, what players will be key in doing so? What players need to step up? The first major piece is Damian Lillard, and I won't spend too much time on him because we all know his impact on Portland. Dame is the heart and soul of this franchise and has literally put the city on his back and carried it to numerous wins throughout the season. Lillard had a big performance against Memphis in Portland's return to basketball, dropping 29 points in the overtime victory. Obviously, if Lillard's playing well, so do the Blazers, and his impact is huge on their potential success. One thing though that I will say about Lillard is that he needs to improve his shooting in the playoffs. Over his career, Dame has shot 40% from the field and 35% from 3 in the playoffs, and obviously that isn't a good look. I think his team's success and his insane clutch moments do help cover this poor shooting, but I think Lillard will need to have a good shooting playoff run if the Blazers are to go any further than the first round. Another important player for the Blazers is CJ McCollum. Though CJ McCollum has been a bit inconsistent at times this year, he's still been very solid, averaging 22 and 7 a game. He also popped off against Memphis, dropping 33 points, and was very important in the overtime. If he can be a consistent scorer like he was in March and in last year's playoffs, the Blazers suddenly have a top 3 backcourt in the league and one that can be very hard to stop, so he too has quite a bit to show as we enter the playoffs. Yusuf Nurkic's return is going to be massive for Portland. In 2019, when Lillard and Nurkic played on the court together, the Blazers had a +19 net rating, which is insane, and in yesterday's game against Memphis, Nurkic proved his worth, scoring 18 points and grabbing 9 rebounds. The biggest reason why Portland needed Nurkic back though was because of his defense. The Blazers are already a pretty bad defensive team, and losing their best 2 defensive players doesn't help. In one game back though, Nurkic is already turning things around for Blazers on that, finishing yesterday's game with 6 blocks. I'll go in more depth on this in a bit, but Nurkic plays a big role on the Blazers' success and was a big reason why they did so well last season. So to have him back in the lineup just in time for the playoffs is again massive for the Trailblazers. Losing Zach Collins at the start of the year was a big blow for the Blazers. Collins was on the rise last year, and in his very few games this season was averaging 8 points on great efficiency. Those stats don't really say it. Collins can be a solid defender, and his absence hurt the Blazers a lot throughout the season, as Whiteside couldn't really make up for both him and Nurkic's absence. With him back now though, the Blazers now have that spark off the bench they sometimes need, and Collins' high energy basketball will help to the prolific offensive team the Blazers already are. The final key player I want to talk about on the Blazers today is Carmelo Anthony. Anthony was a surprise signing this season by the Blazers, but I definitely think he's been worth it, as he's turned out to be a lot better for them than expected. He's averaged 15.7 points per game this season and shot well, about 43% from the field and 37% from deep. His veteran leadership has been made of good use, and he'll be a key player for them as the Blazers look to make a playoff push. So those are the guys I think will play crucial roles in the Blazers' search for a playoff spot. With that all being said, after looking at the key players and why the Blazers may have disappointed arguably this season, why do I think they could be a surprise team in the NBA restart? Well, in my opinion, I think it largely comes down to the return of Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins. As I mentioned, a reason why the Blazers underperformed this season was mainly due to injuries, as they lost their 2 main big men and 2 most important defensive players. As an already bad defensive team, this hurt the Blazers a lot and caused them to have a bad season, at least compared to last year. What people are forgetting though is how good the Blazers were last year with Nurkic. The reason why this team was able to make the Western Conference Finals was in large thanks to him. The reason why they got that 3rd seed was because he was on the team. At his peak of last season, there was an argument to be made for Nurkic being a top 5 center. As I mentioned, when he plays with Lillard at the same time, the Blazers are +19. That's just unreal, and it proves how big of an impact he has on this team. In my opinion, if this Blazers roster can stay healthy throughout the regular season, I think they should be viewed as unanimous favourites for the 8th seed, and I wouldn't be surprised if they push the Lakers to 6 or so games. Some people are getting their hopes up with this team, and though I do doubt that they make it past the first round, they'll definitely put up a fight against the top contenders, because realistically, they are contenders themselves. Without the injuries, this team is a top 5 side in the West, and they proved that last year. So when the Blazers likely take the final playoff seed and give LeBron and the Lakers a run for their money, don't say nobody warned you. Lillard, McCollum, Nurkic, and Carmelo Anthony all have a deep hunger inside of them to prove everyone wrong, and it wouldn't shock me at all if they did. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? How good are the Portland Trailblazers to you? Do you think they will make the playoffs, and if they do, can they cause an upset in the first round? Let me know all your thoughts on this down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe, but with that being said, I am out. Peace.